everyone, it's Kristie here from KP Creatives with another card video for two scrapbook friends. Today we are going to be using some great products from both Tailored Expressions, Gina K Designs, and Concord and Ninth. So I'm going to show you the card that we are working towards. The finished card today will have a different sentiment than this one, but here's what we're going for. We are going for a standard. Actually, this is completely non-standard. So a non-standard card, size-wise, as well as we're doing this shaped bottom. And the card does stand up. You can see there, it stands up great because we're layering some heavyweight card stock together. But this is a really unique card, I thought, great for birthdays or Mother's Day that is coming up. So let's get into it. I have done the die cutting and embossing off camera because it does take a little bit of time for this card. So if you are watching this video and crafting along, feel free to pause the video while you do the die cutting and the embossing. So we are going to start with this great curved floral banner from Gina K. In this die set, you get the outline as well as the detailed layer that goes along the outside of the die cut. So using these together is a really fantastic way to pack a big punch on your cards. So again, it's the curved floral die from Gina K, and you get both of these pieces in the die when you purchase it. I've gone ahead and cut out the outline of Gina K Whisper cardstock. Any cardstock you like as an outline will work here. If you like black to give high contrast, that's totally cool. Light gray, I really like the softness of this Whisper, so that's why I used that color for today. The embossing folder we're going to use is from Tailored Expressions, Dotted Lattice. You could use any embossing folder that you like in your collection. The only reason that I'm using it is to give a little bit of texture to this gorgeous dragon fruit cardstock from Concord and Ninth. A friend of mine actually gifted me a pack of the cardstock and the new ink cube. And I mean, this color, it is amazing. It actually perfectly matches my iPhone case. So I think I'll be using a lot of this color. I think it's just gorgeous. So I embossed the Dotted Lattice onto this cardstock. Again, use any embossing folder you like. You could even dry emboss with your stencils just to give a little bit of texture to that background. You could also leave the cardstock completely flat if you would like to. This color is so beautiful, and so are all of the Concord and Ninth new colors. Really beautiful, and their cardstock embosses really well. So I'm going to set this just to the side so I can show you kind of where we're going. This is the stencil set from Gina K. Comes in 2 stencils, but you actually use 4 different colors. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll show you those steps as we get into the stenciling. But what I wanted to spend a little bit of time explaining is how I built the card base. So this is some Nina Classic Crest 110 pound weight cardstock. You want to make sure you're using a really heavyweight cardstock for this card base. I also die cut the outline image of the curved floral banner die out of 110 pound cardstock as well. This is what we're going to be inking on. Normally I would use 80 pound cardstock for my inking, but because I want these edges to stand up on the card, and they're very delicate, right? So I want to make sure we've got some nice weight to them. So I did use the 110 pound weight cardstock for the outline. So I first cut one piece of cardstock that is 4.5 inches across by 10 inches tall. So when I cut that, I scored it at 5 so that it was scored in the middle. Then I took the outline die, just going to bring that back into frame here. I took this die, opened up my card, and I put this die right near the edge of my paper. And I only ran it through my die cut machine until I got to this part, because I did not want the whole piece die cut. I wanted just partial. So I put a piece of tape. I waited till I use a big shot. So I waited till I heard the crank and then I stopped, reversed my die cut, and that gives us just that great outline. And the reason I wanted that again was to build some heavier weight around these delicate parts of the card. So what we will do when we're finished is layer on this piece of the dragon fruit on top. Then we'll layer on the curved floral banner dies, etc., etc. Just to give it a little bit more heft. I also partial die cut another piece of the 110-pound cardstock. And what we will do, I'm just going to flip this over, is when we're finished, we'll actually pop this on the back so that it, again, just adds a little bit more heft to the front of the card so it will stand up really nice. So a lot of die cutting going on, but that partial die cutting is really fast. So again, all you need to do is you take your card base, and again, I cut it 4.5 inches across by 10 inches tall, score at 5 so it's in the middle. Then you take your curved floral banner die, put it right on the edge, and run it partially through your die cut machine. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. If you have other big die cuts to do some partial die cutting, to do some really unique card fronts, just adds some cool interest to your card by having that shaped front, especially with this one because it's fairly delicate and intricate. So let's get into the inking. I am going to be using my stick and stamp mat from Brutus Monroe. This is the one that was available in the Crop and Create class. If you took that from Scrapbook and Cards Today, one of their recent events, you could use the Misty stick and stamp mats. There's a few available. So whatever you have used, you could even just put a little bit of dot runner or temporary adhesive, temporary pixie tape, anything like that just on your work surface. That will work too. I'm going to take my die cut and put it right on the stick and stamp mat. Then I'm going to bring in stencil number 1. I know it's probably hard to see this on camera, but it does say curved floral banner, stencil 1. So then this stencil, I'll warn you, can be a little tricky to line up at first. So what you can do is line up these little berries. This is how I have found it's the easiest. Once you line up the berries, then line up the flower petals, and you should be good to go. And then because we're using the stick and stamp mat, nothing is going to move. Our die is going to stay in place, and so is the stencil. First color we're going to go in with is the dragon fruit. I've got my Gina K blending brushes here. So I'm going to go right in and look at the vibrancy of this color. I just think it's so great. And here in Ontario right now, we are having some very gray, rainy spring weather. So this color is just what the doctor ordered. We all need a little bit more of this dragon fruit right now. I just love it. So that's stencil number 1. Super easy. Now I'm going to peel off the stencil, and we're going to go to stencil number 2. So like how we lined up the berries on stencil 1, on stencil 2, line it up to the leaves because those are the really delicate parts. And then you can just kind of shimmy this and shape it where you need it to go. Just having a little trouble here. That looks not the greatest. Let's see. So you do need to wiggle this around just a little bit to get it exactly where you want it to go. And again, it's pretty forgiving because you've got the outline that you're going to be using as well. So that is helpful with this stencil set. So now I'm going to go in with Oceanside from Concord and Ninth. I realize this is not a traditional leaf color, but I loved the dragon fruit and oceanside combo. So that's what I'm going to go with because it's crafting and there are no rules at what color the leaves need to be on your projects. So you can go crazy and make them whatever color you like. So there's stencil number 2. I'm going to set my stencil off to the side, spray it with some alcohol, and then we'll get that cleaned off later. Now we're going to bring in the next stencil. I'm going to make sure I've got it on the right side here. So curved floral banner stencil 2, and I'm going to stencil the flowers first. So we're going to get the center of the flowers lined up, as well as the 2 little flowers on the edge here. Just gonna wiggle this a little bit. And I'm gonna go in with Nectar from Concord and Ninth. Get that inked up. Nectar is a nice light peachy orange. That looks good. And then to finish it off, we're going to go in with Oceanside. And the Oceanside really just fills in a couple of spots on this stencil. I'm sorry, we're not going with Oceanside. This is Aqua Sky. Oceanside we already used. So here we go. And again, I really liked this color palette together. I know it's not one that we would traditionally see, but that's okay. So now I'm going to pop off the stencil. If you are new to using these stick and stamp mats, you might have a little bit of trouble peeling off your project. All you need to do is bend the mat and whatever you're working on will peel right off. Now, it is important, whether you're using the Misty mats, one of these stick and stamp, whatever, that you cover it back with the protective film. I have put a piece of the Spellbinders craft tape on mine so that I just use it as a hinge. Otherwise, I know this film sheet will go who knows where in my craft area. So I thought it was easiest just to take the guesswork out of that and make it into a little hinge. Now I'm going to bring in my precision tip glue bottle. This has the Gina K Connect glue in it, and I'm going to add some liquid glue to the other outline that we've die cut here, and we are going to layer these up. And then we'll bring in that Whisper cardstock and add the outline layer. Now, you could leave the outline layer off if you wanted to. If you didn't think that your card needed it, you could leave it exactly like this. No problemo. And I think I didn't get the stencil exactly right for those little tiny flowers. So I'm actually going to come in and put a little bit more nectar on that section because I think it might not show through the outline. So just going to ink that up a little bit more. I know it looks like a bit of a hot mess right now, but it will be fine. So now I'm going to add some drops of glue very carefully onto the back of the Whisper cardstock, really trying to get it on the edges or where I can see there's thicker parts. Doesn't really help you to say the edges, does it? They're all edges here. But where there are thicker parts on this die cut, so that I know I'll get some good contact with the shadow or the base layer that we inked up. So just working my way across here. You could, if you're in a hurry or if this type of gluing drives you crazy, you could die cut this out of the Stick It sheets, or the adhesive sheets that you can run through your die cutting machine, that would have probably been a good idea in this case, but I just thought of it now. So if you're trying along and playing along at home, give that a try. That would probably make life easier. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up this outline and we are going to adhere it to our other inked up die here. And I really like to use the liquid adhesive versus the versus any other in this instance, because you get some wiggle room. You can wiggle things around until they are in a great position, and then you can press and the die cut will stay in place. Okay, so I got a little bit of glue on my media mat here, so I'm just going to give that a wipe. This looks fantastic. I think we've got a nice die cut image there that where there is a little bit of glue, it will dry clear, so I'm not worried about that. So now I'm going to bring in our card base and we're going to put some adhesive on the back of the dragon fruit cardstock that has the dotted lattice embossed. And again, I kind of liked using this embossing folder from Tailored Expressions because it looks like a fence. So I thought that that was kind of neat just to have the flowers looking like they're growing over a fence. But honestly, you could use whatever embossing folder, or like I said in the beginning, if you want to dry emboss a stencil, you could use that too. All right, now we're going to get the adhesive. I'm actually going to put it on this part because I think that will be easier and get us better contact. And then I'll put it just on the tops here because I know that won't touch the areas we already have adhesive on. All right, so now what I love about doing that partial die cut is all I need to do is line it up with this section here. And that's how we're gonna get our great shaped card at the bottom. So I'm gonna give that a nice press. Make sure we've got a good crease at the top. And then we know now that our card is going to stand up. Fantastic. So I went into my sentiment stash from Tailored Expressions and grabbed the You're Simply Fabulous from one of their simple strips sets. Those sets are great because you can build up a little stash of sentiments and it takes no time at all. And then when you're making a card, you just reach into that little set and you have a sentiment all ready to go. The other reason this dotted lattice embossing folder is great is because it takes the guesswork out of lining up your sentiments. So it's super handy from that perspective. So I think this is a great card for Mother's Day, telling a great mom figure or woman in your life that they are simply fabulous or that they are so loved. So I hope this gave you some inspiration of how to use a shaped front on your cards. Really love that curved banner die from Gina K Designs. I think there's tons of things you can do with it. And I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it and get creative. And I hope if you were lucky enough to get your hands on the new Concord and Ninth products that you are having a great time with the beautiful colors that are in their news release. If you have a moment, please subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you as a subscriber and you'll get notified as we post new videos. I hope you're having a great spring. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.